What is going on YouTube? Joe here with Culination Media and welcome to the Introduction to Competitive Breeding Guide. Today we will be taking a look at the process for breeding competitive Pokemon with perfect IVs, as well as passing down egg moves. To illustrate this, we'll be breeding a Spinarak from scratch. Before we get started, you're going to need a few items to make the process a little bit more efficient. First, the Destiny Knot can be found in Sea Mauville by rematching young couple Lois and Hal in room 3. You can also obtain it by transferring it over from X and Y or receiving it as a gift from fans after winning a Master Rank contest. The Destiny Knot will allow us to pass down 5 combined IVs from the parent Pokemon instead of the usual 3, which cuts down on the randomness of getting perfect stats. The next item we'll need is an Everstone, which can be found hidden in a rock and granite cave next to where Steelixite is located. It can also sometimes be held by wild Geodudes and Gravelers. The Dex Nav can also be extremely helpful in speeding up the process by helping you find Pokemon that already come with egg moves, like Seedot with Razor Wind for example. The stars listed under a Pokemon's potential indicate IVs, meaning you can potentially find parents with up to 3 perfect stats this way. For this example, we're trying to breed Spinarak, so first we'll need to obtain one. As it turns out, the only way to get one in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire is to breed the Ariados found at Sky Pillar. Our goal here will be to capture a female, since males don't pass down the species when breeding with different Pokemon. Before breeding, it's always important to research what type of competitive set you want to use so you can prepare for breeding the right ability, nature, and egg moves. For Ariados, both Swarm and Insomnia are viable, so we'll be breeding both. Cerebi and Bulbapedia are your best friends when it comes to researching egg moves and egg groups, and of course, the links to those websites will be in the description below. For this project, we want to breed Spinarak with Megahorn and Toxic Spikes as egg moves, which means we'll need to breed a female Ariados or Spinarak with a male Pokemon that can learn those moves. Heracross naturally learns Megahorn, so we can use it as a father, and Beedrill learns Toxic Spikes via level up as well. Both Beedrill and Heracross that I'll be using have 5 perfect IVs already, so if we use our Destiny Knot, we can get a head start on passing down solid stats while breeding for egg moves at the same time. As it turns out, my Beedrill doesn't know Toxic Spike, so before breeding we need to make a pit stop in Falarbra Town to visit the move relearner. You need a heart scale to relearn a move, and they can be found pretty often on Wild Love Disc. Protect is a TM move, so I'll be replacing it with Toxic Spikes since it'll be easy to change it back afterwards. Now we're headed to the Battle Resort Daycare, where we'll be breeding our Pokemon. First, I'll need to remove my old Pokemon Glalie and Meryl and transfer their items to our first parents for this project. We'll transfer the Destiny Knot to Ariados and give Heracross the Everstone, which ensures that its adamant nature gets passed down. We'll be changing this to Jolly later anyway, so it doesn't really matter what item Heracross gets, if any. You can also use the power items from the Battle Maison to pass down specific stats 100% of the time, but the Destiny Knot is usually better overall. After depositing our Pokemon in the daycare, we want to make room in our party for eggs. We're going to hold on to our Magcargo here because its ability Flame Body speeds up the process of hatching those eggs. Other Pokemon for this are Talonflame and Volcarona, especially because they can also learn Fly. Pokemon with the ability Magma Armor have a similar effect. Now we can bike around until the boy outside the daycare turns around to face us, indicating an egg is available. You can travel in a continuous loop around the island by going right of the boy and holding up after making contact with the rock. Our goal here is simply to hatch eggs until we get another female. You'll notice that we now have a Spinarak with Megahorn as a move. We can release all but one female since they all likely have bad IVs anyway. Now we're going to replace the first Ariados with our new Spinarak, and we'll replace the Heracross with Beedrill, so that our next batch of Spinarak can also get Toxic Spikes as an egg move. Because the replacement Spinarak now has Megahorn, the offspring will have both egg moves that we want. As it turns out, I also have a Jolly Heracross that I will be using to pass down the nature we want for the final product, but we'll get to that later. It's important to remember to transfer items from the old parents to the new parents so that we can ensure that we're still passing those IVs down. This isn't essential at this point, but it will speed things up in the long run. Our goal once again will be to breed a female. Once we do that, we can see that it now has both toxic spikes and megahorn, which means we're ready to move to the next step. Since we have to breed both a swarm and an insomnia spinnerack, we won't worry about abilities right now. We can use a parent with the right nature and good IVs to start trying for a 5 IV spinnerack, meaning it has perfect HP, attack, defense, special defense, and speed. That jolly Heracross that I mentioned earlier is the perfect candidate as a new parent, so once again we'll be replacing the old one. Despite the fact that we started with an Ariados with likely no IVs, our new spinnerack probably has around 2 to 3 perfect IVs because we've been breeding with 5 IV parents, and the Destiny Knot from the beginning. This means it probably won't take too long to hatch a 5 IV spinnerack. Now after each batch of eggs, we will take the offspring to the IV judge located in the Pokemon Center here on the island. The stats that he mentions that can't be beat are perfect. I ended up getting extremely lucky in pulling a 6 IV spinnerack in the first batch, meaning every single one of its stats are perfect. It's also a female, so we can now replace the spinnerack in the daycare with this one to make it easier to breed more perfect spinnerack. This spinnerack has Swarm, so now we'll be going for at least a 5 IV offspring with Insomnia. Females have an 80% chance to pass down regular abilities, so it may take a while to get the one that we want. If you're going for a hidden ability, keep in mind it is only passed down 60% of the time if the female has it, and only if she has it. Fathers can pass down hidden abilities as well, but they have to be bred with Ditto in order to do so. Of course, it's always a good idea to check the IVs of all the offspring, even if you pull the perfect one you've been looking for. You can always trade your extras or use the males with decent IVs to speed up your next breeding project. This is especially true for Pokemon that belong to multiple egg groups. Since our spinnerack will level up while we're hatching eggs, it will replace its egg moves while it's still in the daycare with the moves it normally learns via level up. The offspring will still gain the egg moves though, so we don't have to worry, and we can just take the parent spinnerack to the move relearner in Falarbor Town to get its move back after the fact. Now our goal is to hatch eggs until we come across a female with Insomnia to increase the chances of getting the ability we want, or to simply hatch a 5 IV offspring with Insomnia. Once we hatch our eggs, we can check to see if any come out with the right ability. Luckily, in the first batch, I pulled a female with Insomnia, so we should check its IVs immediately. As it turns out, this spinnerack has all 5 perfect IVs, which means our breeding project is complete. We started with a 0 IV Ariados and ended with 2 5 to 6 IV spinneracks with a jolly nature, 2 egg moves, and 2 viable different abilities. It might also be a good idea to mark your Pokemon in the PC so you can remember which ones have which IVs. As always, we'll check our other hatchlings for IVs and discard ones that aren't needed. As for a few things that I haven't mentioned in this video, genderless Pokemon can only be bred with Ditto, so you may want to DexNav 3 IV Dittos in Mirage Cave, or search for them in X and Y's Friend Safari. And lastly, breeding for Trick Room may mean that you want 0 IVs for speed. Luckily, the IV judge will tell you when you have 0 IVs in any stat by saying something like, "You won't get anywhere fast with this low of a speed stat." The process for passing these down to offspring is exactly the same with perfect IVs, and again, the Destiny Knot will make things much easier for you. So that's pretty much going to be it for the introduction to competitive breeding guide. I covered everything that I wanted to, I believe. I'm sure I missed some things, but if you guys have any questions or concerns, feel free to write them in the comment section below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter link will be in the description below, so you can contact me on there if you have any questions or whatever. I know one big thing that I did not cover was hidden power, and that's because I didn't feel like it belonged in an introduction guide. And that's because it's quite complicated. So I will probably be following this up eventually with a guide on how to breed hidden powers, because it's kind of complicated, and you have to be able to calculate IVs that are not 31 or 0. So there's quite a bit that goes into it. So yeah, I'll be getting into that at a later time. But other than that, I'm pretty sure I covered everything. Links to everything that I referenced as far as other websites and references will be in the description below. I'll also see if I can just find any other general purpose information pages on breeding, so that if there's anything that I kind of just skimmed over kind of quickly, you guys can read and research on your own, because maybe that helps, or it will help reinforce what I have already said in this video. And that's pretty much going to be it. So like I said, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, it would help out if you did leave a like or a comment. And with that being said, I will see you all next time. And until then, game on.